Yo, so today I want to talk about a few things that involve exercising and Indian clubs, and I want to show you what I made. I took a piece of 4-inch fire hose, filled it with 8 pounds of sand. Alright, I stitched it up, folded it over, stitched it again, and inside of here I've got another layer of fire hose, so it's like extra thick. I just folded up the handle, run a stitch line here, and then close the end, but there's no sand here. It's just like, it's about the thickness of a gi, right? It's got some pretty good grip too, and it seems pretty durable, right? I've smacked this on the ground as hard as I can a few times, and like this, the threads haven't busted loose. I didn't use any glue, that's why these are still long, just in case I got to retie them. But I wanted to talk about the progression on how I got here, right? Alright, so if you've been doing HEMA for very long, or like Indian clubs, right? These are like Indian clubs exercises. I'm not an expert, right? I just do this from time to time for additional training, right? There's a pretty basic one, right? Cool. Awesome. Great. Nice and smooth, nice and controlled. Notice this isn't an Indian club. This is just a big stick I got. I don't actually have any Indian clubs, right? Once you get comfortable with that, I'd say five pounds on a club, whatever. If I had to guess, this is like 3. Move on to like something heavy. Of course, you can do a bunch of different exercises, but the main one you always see people doing is you hold it up, swirl it around, hold it up, right? Awesome, cool. Once you get good with that, right, one hand. This is, I believe, a 16-pound sledge. No, 10-pound sledge, right? So I thought, all right, I don't have any clubs. Maybe I'll just try to make a club, but I don't have a lathe, right? When you start swinging things, since they're not attached to a handle, it's kind of hard to change directions without generating a lot of force. I think that's one thing this does really well, is it has multiple, I'm not going to say multiple forces, but it has more spots where swinging of this makes it unstable that you've got to correct for, right? So if we do the same thing that we did with the stick, right? I've got to think about how I'm going to swing this to catch and deal with it, right? Of course, you can do a bunch of different things. You can switch hands. You can do it like a kettlebell. All right, you see some people do this. All right, cool. Kind of surprised myself there. I didn't think I was going to catch it. All right, I'm just kind of letting it dip back and then picking up full. All right. And because this is so thin, I'm actually having to grab it and work on my grip strength. It's like I said, grabbing a gi or like a jacket on someone. And again, I'm not an expert with the club, with an Indian club or a mace or gada or anything like that. So it's like, all right, how many different ways can I spin this thing? And like I said, it's pretty durable. Hopefully you can see the ground. Right? All good, no sand leaking out. So if you're looking for something that's harder than an Indian club and requires a little more muscle and dexterity, and you're okay with buying some new fire hose from like Amazon, this is a 4-inch. I think they make 5 and 6-inch fire hose, but they also make 1 and 2. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is get like a 2-inch hose and fill the whole thing, so that way I'm also grabbing like a 2-inch longer weight. 8 pounds is quite a lot, and my knot's coming undone right here. I think 8 pounds is quite a lot, but if you get used to it, you can always start with like 2 pounds or 3 pounds and then add more later. Yeah, I'm looking at my stitching here. I'm not sure if you can see this, but there is, obviously the stitching isn't the best, but I do have like some tearing right here. But we'll see how long it lasts. If I gotta re-sew it or like put some glue on here, all right, I will. But I just wanted to share that with y'all. See what you think. Obviously, like feeling it all in my core as well. And yeah. See what I mean about the extra, like the extra snap that you won't get from a club, right? So if I try to do the same with this, there's no snap, right? Because it's all one piece, right? I want to be able to carry this around and it's nice and smooth, nice and controlled. This one is a lot more hectic, right? If you want to learn more about doing like Indian club movements, get on YouTube. I'm definitely not the guy to teach you how to do things. I'm not an expert at myself, but I think this might be like leveling up on some sort. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting idea. I can't say that I came up with it myself, but if you're wanting to give it a try, the fire hose on Amazon, it's pretty cheap. You can get a bunch of used fire hoses, but they tend to have like cuts and abrasions on them. So just get the new stuff from Amazon. I got a roll of 40 feet for like 30 bucks, right? Not bad. If you're wanting to try something different and you don't mind making something that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, I just filled this with sand. And again, I can make this as long as I wanted or as short as I wanted, use different diameters. If I wanted to, I could make a giant one and start carrying it around like, you know, some sort of giant sandbag lift, right? Because sandbag lifting is another great exercise. You can get those on Amazon as well. I'm not going to link anything. Sandbags. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Do I have to say it? Like and subscribe.